Good morning, everyone. We're waiting for a couple more commissioners to get here for a quorum, and we will get started soon. The weather and parking is slowing them down a little bit, but they're on their way, and we will get started soon. Thanks for your patience.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the August 10th meeting of the Memphis and Shelby County Land Use Control Board. My name is Mary Sharp, and I will be serving as your chairperson today. We'll begin this morning's meeting with a roll call. Mr. Ragsdale, would you proceed, please?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Fleming? Here. Mr. Gill? Here. Mr. McKenna?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Ms. Wilbanks?
Here.
Mr. Tolles?
Here.
Dr. Pritchard?
Here.
Chair Sharp?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. I would like to remind you that copies of today's agenda are located at the front right podium if you need them. If you wish to be a speaker on any case that is on today's agenda, please fill out an attendance speaker's card located at the front podium. Once you have filled out the card, please bring it up front and hand it to one of the DPD staff members located at the left podium. When that agenda item is called, you will be given an opportunity to speak. At this point, I would like to read our conflict of interest statement. The adopted policy of the Land Use Control Board requires that any member of the board recuse himself or herself from any participation in a discussion or voting on any matter on the meeting's agenda in which he or she may have direct or indirect personal interest. The member shall vacate his or her seat during the deliberation on any matter from which they have recused themselves. An abstention may substitute for a recusal for the purposes of maintaining a quorum. I would now like to get approval of our minutes from the last meeting. May I have a motion?
I so move, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. We're now ready for our director's remarks.
Good morning. John Zena, Director of Planning and Development. Thank you for inviting me to be able to give some remarks this morning. There are a few updates that we have of initiatives that are underway that we wanted to make you aware of beginning now, and in the months to come, I expect I'll come back and continue to give updates, perhaps quarterly, on these initiatives. The first is, if you are keeping track on your calendar, February 2024 will mark 5 years since this board adopted our comprehensive plan, Memphis 3.0. If you recall, one of the things that we committed to as a part of the comprehensive plan was that we would do more thorough updates every 5 years. So that process will begin. We've already begun some work internally through staff. That process will begin publicly at the beginning of next year. We'll focus on the 5-year plan update. We'll focus on confirming and refining many of the recommendations that are on the future land use map that is part of the comprehensive plan. That, of course, is the principal tool that we all use to determine consistency of applications with the comprehensive plan. We'll also put our focus on the implementation priorities that were identified in the planning districts within the plan. Those implementation priorities have shaped a lot of the investment decisions that the city has made, primarily through the Accelerate Memphis initiative that is still ongoing now. Now that many of those projects that were identified as implementation priorities are either complete or in some stage of progress through Accelerate Memphis, that will be a good opportunity through the 5-year plan update process to engage the community around new implementation priorities that will shape investment decisions in the next 5 years to come. We also have been working as a staff on a general plan for the unincorporated areas of the county to do something similar for the unincorporated area as we've done with Memphis 3.0. Obviously not as detailed and in-depth due to the differences in the two geographies, but looking at future land use, a zoning plan accompanying that, looking at major road decisions, decisions around public facilities and infrastructure and parks in the unincorporated area. We expect to have that plan completed by the end of the calendar year, at which point we'll bring it to the Land Use Control Board for discussion and consideration. Finally, with the this year's update to the Unified Development Code, we're taking a little bit more comprehensive approach than we typically have with our ZTAs. One of the things that came out of the last zoning text amendment was the need to better engage the community around the recommendations that go into the zoning and text amendment. We've established a steering committee made up of community members, architects and designers, builders, individuals who are not only impacted by decisions that are made related to zoning, but also use the zoning code on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis. That committee has not started their work yet. Our first meeting is actually next Thursday, but that process will start to shape the recommendations that end up going into not only the next zoning text amendment, but also the next time we do a more comprehensive update to the zoning code, we plan to look at the map as well. The zoning map has largely been the same except for the applications that this board sees. Really since the 1950s, there hasn't been a comprehensive rezoning for the city. So we'll be looking at the zoning map. Certainly now that we have a comprehensive plan, we're going through this process with the 5-year update of confirming, refining the future land use. That provides a quality basis for us to work with the community and work with the property owners, work with those affected by the zoning code to make recommendations to making comprehensive updates to the zoning map. That public process we anticipate will be about an 18-month process, so it will take some time. There may be some refinements that we still make through ZTAs that would fall under the category of cleanups, as we usually sort of describe them when we roll them in to the ZTA. But the more comprehensive changes would come along with proposed map changes once that public process is complete. As I said, that process will start next year. We anticipate, like I said, that it would be about an 18-month process, but my hope is to visit with you, like I said, around every quarter to continue to provide updates and also provide opportunities for board members to plug into our process so that you're able to track the work that's underway as it's happening. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about any of the updates.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Zena.
Thank you for your time.
Mr. Ragsdale, may I please have a secretary's report for this month and an explanation of today's procedures?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have a secretary's report, so I will go into the procedure, which is as follows. At the beginning of today's meeting, we will establish a consent agenda for those items where no one in the audience or on the board is requesting an individual public hearing. After the consent agenda is established and approved, we will move on to the regular agenda. For each case on the regular agenda, the DPD planner will give a presentation. This will be followed by the applicant's presentation and any testimony from others who support the application. The applicant and supporters will be given a total of 10 minutes. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Next, the opposition will be given a total of 10 minutes to present their case. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Finally, the applicant will then have a 3-minute rebuttal period under the same rules. Following all the presentations and after all parties have been heard, the chair will ask if the board members have any additional questions of anyone who spoke. Then the chair will close the public hearing portion of the case, entertain a motion on the matter, discuss, and then vote on the application. If an applicant or any speaker would like to be heard after the conclusion of the public hearing portion of the case, or if a board member wishes to hear any additional testimony from any party for additional clarification, a motion would need to be made along with a second and then a 2/3 affirmative vote of the board is required to reopen the public hearing portion of the agenda. If the public hearing is reopened, both the applicant and the opposition will be allowed an equal amount of time to provide additional testimony. After the additional comments, the board will close the public hearing portion of the case and deliberate and take the final vote. Again, if any member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support of or in opposition to a case, he or she will need to fill out a speaker's card. These are available at the front podium. Speaker's cards are not required of applicants since their names are already part of the record.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. The board is a supporter of community involvement, and we welcome neighborhood comments and feedback. We are respectful of the fact that many of you have taken off work or adjusted your schedules to be here today, but we ask that your comments please be made within the time frame allowed. If there are multiple speakers, please try not to be repetitive so as to make the most of your side's 10-minute time allotment. Lastly, I'd like to ask you all to silence your cell phones so as not to interrupt or disturb anyone during today's proceeding. With our procedures now explained, I would like to introduce to my right Ms. Lisa Wilbanks, who will be this morning's consent agenda chairperson. Ms. Wilbanks will read items 1 through 18 as the consent agenda. Once the consent agenda is read, if you wish to discuss one of those items individually, please come forward and give us the item number and we will pull the case. We will then vote on the remaining consent agenda items as one vote, and following the vote, we will hear the cases that were pulled individually. Ms. Wilbanks, will you proceed, please?
Yes, ma'am. Item number 3, case RC 2023-001 in Glenview. The request is a residential corridor revocation to allow a neighborhood market at 1560 South Parkway East. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 6, case S 2023-028 in Bartlett adjacent. The request is a 2-lot major residential subdivision at 3975 Billy Mare Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 7, case SUP 2023-014 in Glenview. The request is a special use permit to allow a convenience store without gas sales in the residential urban 1 zoning district at 1560 South Parkway East. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 9, case MJR 23-32 in White Station. The request is a major modification to construct an approximately 30 by 30 cremation retort facility at 5668 Poplar Avenue. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 11, case MJR 23-34 in Berkeley. The request is a major modification to approve a site plan per outline plan conditions for a Valvoline in the parking lot at 4500 Summer Avenue. Staff recommendation is a hold. Item number 12, case PD 23-013 in Cordova. The request is a planned development to allow a 16-lot single-family residential development at the southeast corner of Cordova Road and Dexter Lane. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 13, case PD 23-014 in Cordova. The request is a planned development to allow a 128-lot single-family residential development located on 50.25 acres southeast of Rocky Point Road and Sanga. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 14, case 23-016 in Fraser. The request is a planned development to allow a self-storage facility at 1674 Delano. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 15, case SUP 2023-015 in Binghamton. The request is a vehicle repair at 611 North Home Street. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 16, case SUP 23-016 in Berkeley. The request is a special use permit to allow commercial parking in the commercial mixed use 2 zoning district located at Covington Pike and approximately 320 feet north of Ernestine Cove. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 17, case SUP 23-017 in Westwood. The request is a special use permit to allow group daycare for 12 children in the residential single-family 8 zoning district at 4757 South 3rd. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 18, case Z23-011 in Fraser. The request is a rezoning of plus or minus 1.69 acres from residential urban 3 to employment, located on Cornell Street and approximately 750 feet west of Felt Station Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. That's our consent agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks. Anyone now wishing to pull a case from the consent agenda, please come forward and give us the item number. The items on the consent agenda will now be voted on with one vote, subject to the recommendation of DPD. If the consent agenda is approved, only item number 1, 2, 4, 8, and 5 in that order will have a full independent public hearing. By voting on the consent agenda, each board member is affirming that he or she has read the staff report and agrees with its findings and, where applicable, its recommended conditions. Can I get a motion, please?
Yes, ma'am. Move to approve item number 3, case RC 2023-001 as a hold. Item number 6, case 2023-028 as a hold. Item number 7, case SUP 2023-014 as a hold. Item number 9, case MJR 23-32 as a hold. Item number 11, case MJR 23-34 as a hold. Item number 12, case PD 23-013 as a hold. Item number 13, case PD 23-014 as a hold. Item number 14, case PD 23-016 as a hold. Item number 15, case SUP 2023-015 as a hold. Item number 16, case MJR 23-34 as a hold. Item number 17, case PD 23-016 as a hold. Item number 18, case SUP 2023-016 as a hold. Item number 19, case MJR 23-016 as a hold. Item number 20, case PD 23-016 as a hold. Item number 20, case SUP 2023-015 as a hold. Item number 20, case PD 23-016 as a hold. Item number 20, case SUP 2023-016 as a hold. Item number 21, case MJR 23-016 as a hold. Item number 22, case PD 23-016 as a hold. Item number 23, case SUP 2023-016 as a hold. Item number 23, case MJR 23-016 as a hold. Item number 24, case PD 23-016 as a hold. Item number 25, case MJR 23-016 as a hold. Item number 26, case PD 23-016 as a hold. Item number 27, Item number 16, case SUP 23-016. Item number 17, case SUP 23-017. And item number 18, case Z 23-011 as a whole.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair, I thought I heard Ms. Wilbanks say number 6 as a whole. It's actually as approval with conditions. I may have misheard that. I just want to clarify that.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, my sheet said hold. I'm sorry.
Okay,
So that will be a approval with conditions on item number 6.
okay. Is there any further discussion?
What about item 10?
Item 10 is a hold, I think.
No, we're pulling it. It's been pulled. We're going to hear it.
We're going to hear item 10?
Are we hearing 10?
No, he
Item
hold.
number 10, the applicant has requested, or one of my told, they requested that yesterday to discuss conditions with
With
us
them.
as well. So
Did I say that?
I believe the first time, so that's a good clarification if not. So let's make sure that item number 10 as a whole.
As a whole, okay. Okay.
All right, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. We will now go to Dr. Pritchard, who is doing the regular agenda. And as I stated, we will hear 1, 2, 4, 8, and 5 in that order. Dr. Pritchard.
Agenda item number 1, S2023-22, Cordova, 9-lot major subdivision, residential subdivision at 8979 Macon Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions and a waiver.
Okay, the applicant is here. Would you come up and introduce yourself? And then we'll hear the case.
Tim McCaskill, the Reeves Firm, 6800 Poplar Avenue.
Okay, and there's opposition on this, so we'll hear this case, number 1.
Good morning, Kendra Cobbs, Division of Planning and Development. This is a request to subdivide a lot into 9 lots. It is a request that came before the board in May, and the applicant was asked to revise the plan in order to have fewer lots. So this is located in Cordova, and it's at the southwest corner of Macon Road and Buckeye Road. Looking at the zoning map, it is zoned residential single family, R6, and the zoning to the west is also R6. We have conservation agriculture zoning to the east and also to the south, but then a little farther south, there's R6 zoning again. Primarily, the area is single family residential, as we can see on the land use map. And here are some photos of the site, view from Macon Road, and then also the image to the right is actually from Buckeye Road, closer, more so on the property looking west. And here are images from Buckeye Road looking north, and then also Buckeye Road looking south. And so the property in the image to the right is the existing home that would be demolished if this is approved. So the plan that is now proposed is for a 9-lot subdivision, and because it is R6 zoning, the lots, the smallest lot is actually like 6,800 square feet, and then the lot sizes go up to about 11,000 square feet. There is a private drive that is along the rear of the properties, and there would be rear-loaded garages off of the private drive. So the private drive actually has an access point off of Macon Road and then 2 access points off of Buckeye Road. And there's also some common area, so an HOA would be required in order to maintain the private drive and the common open space. So just to refresh, this was a proposal back in May that the board heard, and at that time it was a 12-lot subdivision. So the applicant has revised the plan to be a 9-lot subdivision. And this is R6 zoning. The proposal does meet the requirements of the R6 zoning district. Instead of the individual curb cuts along Buckeye Road, which was proposed back in May, there is a private drive that would have access at the rear of the properties with rear-loaded garages. And so staff recommends approval with conditions, mainly our standard engineering requirements, and then also there would need to be final plat approval. There's also a request for a waiver because there is no sidewalk on Buckeye Road, and also there's no curb and gutter, so the applicant is requesting a waiver of that. And that concludes the presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of Ms. Cobb at this time? Okay, hearing none, we're ready for the applicant to present your case.
If you remember, as Kendra said, we first proposed a 12-lot subdivision. We've modified it. We think we made a lot of improvements to it by having rear-loaded garages so we don't have multiple driveways exiting onto Buckeye. We just have two. And there's additional parking back there for guests, visitors. We think this is a lot better plan, and we're in agreement with the staff's recommendation, and be glad to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, we'll now have Mr. Massey, opposition.
Good morning. My name is Michael Massey. My family lives basically directly across the street, and I've actually grown up in this neighborhood for my entire life. And growing up, we've had a combination of probably a total of 9 houses on the street total. And now we're the one to put 9 houses. First was 12, now 9 houses in just a 3-acre spot right there. So you're doubling the amount of houses on a street that was only had 9 to begin with. Not to mention the increased traffic that will come on there. There's already crazy traffic that comes down Macon Road and having to turn off Buckeye going to Macon as anybody comes down that way. During school time, you cannot make a left-hand or right-hand turn there without waiting 5 minutes. So all that traffic's going back up down Buckeye. Quite frankly, I think that housing should be down to at least 4 houses or less, instead of this 9 houses with a wrought iron fence gate around it, which anywhere in that area you do not see a 9-house area or big area with basically a gated community in that small little area.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions of Mr. Massey? Okay, we're ready for the rebuttal.
I know when you live somewhere all your life, it's hard to look ahead and accept change, but we think this will be good for the neighborhood. There's subdivisions on all sides of us, not immediately, but all around us. We're going to have a minimum of 2,500 square feet on the houses. That's larger than most of them in that area and will be worth more than the houses that are there. We've reduced the number of driveways to 3. We put one on Macon to give people a chance to pull out on Macon instead of having to get on Buckeye when the school traffic is heavy there. So we think this is a big improvement, and be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I do, I've got a couple. This wrought iron fence, is it solid or does it have the gates? Individual gates, or is it going to be a solid wrought iron fence?
The wrought iron fence will have gates.
Okay. I'm with Mr. Massey. So as I've said before, that street this is going to be really tough for it. But if people decide that they do want to vote for it, at the very least, I want no parking signs on that street, because if somebody has a party, they're going to have to figure it out with their neighbors in the back, because it just can't handle it. And this is for Mr. Ragsdale. Does city look at this extra curb cut going out onto Macon? You'll have 3 curb cuts, just bam, bam, bam. Will they review that?
Yes, city engineering will review and have to approve.
After it's approved? Okay.
Ms. Wilbanks, I may have misunderstood your question. Did you mean gates for the drive?
No, gates just to
man
get
gates?
man gates.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure that if this is approved, that there won't be any parking on that street. It just, you make that turn at night, there aren't any lights, obviously, and I mean, that's just a disaster waiting to happen. Because, and you know, even having this curb cut going out to Macon Road, you still got the backup past it. So I'm just, I'm like, Mr. Mann, this is a lot. Even though I'm very happy you went down, this is a lot of homes on a tiny little street that, you know, you're doubling it. And, well, I still have a little trepidation about it, but if it's passed, I do want that to be a condition if at all possible. That's it.
Thank you.
Now, that you can, this road, Buckeye dead ends at Rocky Point, as you know well, it's your neighborhood. And I use this as a cut through a wind, Macon is backed up. And, but I like that they drop the lots, and I don't mind the density.
Any further questions? Okay, this closes the public portion of our meeting. Dr. Pritchard?
Move approval of agenda item number 1, S2023-022.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote.
Madam Chair, may I ask, Ms. Wilbanks did mention a condition that she would like to add for no parking signs to be placed along Buckeye. I just wanted to see if you wanted to consider that. If there's no objection to that, we could add that as an amendment, or is that something that you wanted to discuss?
No, I'd like to add that as an amendment.
Okay.
Right.
Certainly.
You want to repeat that?
We will add Ms. Wilbanks' comments.
Okay, without objection? Okay.
Everybody okay with that?
Second.
No
Yes.
further discussion? Okay, I assume we're ready to vote. Are we going to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Pritchard?
Agenda item number 2, PD 2023-010 Eats, vehicle storage yard at the southeast corner of U.S. Highway 64 and Washington Road. Staff recommendation is rejection.
We can't hear the council members at all. I'm so sorry to say something, but we can't hear. And other people are shaking their heads saying, yes, we can hear, but no one wanted to speak up.
Can you hear me?
Okay, thank you. We'll.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Thank you for letting us know. Yeah. Thank you. We appreciate it for sure.
Okay. Dr. Pritchard,
We just need to
put
make
on
sure
your
that we have our
microphone.
microphones on as well too. So, thank you.
Help her. Okay,
Oh, there we go.
now. Okay, you want to repeat that case, please? You can't hear me either? Okay. All right. That's all right. Just let me know. Can you hear me now? Okay. Go ahead, Dr. Pritchard.
Say something about no parks or places.
Okay, thank you.
It just wasn't, I'm sorry.
We're on agenda item number 2. Do you have your agenda there?
They are where?
No, they don't have agendas out there.
They're at the back
At the front podium.
or up here.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
Okay,
you.
I'm going to recall it. PD 2023-010 Eads, vehicle storage yard at the southeast corner of U.S. Highway 64 and Washington Road. Staff recommendation is rejection.
Okay, is the applicant here? If you'd come and introduce yourself, and then we'll hear the staff.
David Bray with the Bray Firm, 2950 Stage Plaza North.
Thank you. And we do have our position, so we're going to hear, it's a rejection, so we're going to hear the case. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Brett Davis with the Division of Planning and Development. Again, this is case PD 2023-010. It is a new plan development request to allow a vehicle storage yard in Eads. Just some general information. The proposed name of the development is BS Holdings Planned Development. This is located at the southeast corner of US Highway 64 and Washington Road. I've got a map of that on the next slide. The owner and applicant are the same, BS Holdings GP, represented by Mr. Bray. Again, the request is a new PD to allow vehicle storage yard. The total area within the proposed PD is just over 6 acres, and the zoning today is conservation agriculture. Here is a map of Shelby County. The site is within the pink circle near the edge of the county and south of Arlington across the highway. Here's a map showing everybody that received notice of last month's hearing at which this case was held at the applicant's request. We mailed 29 notices and have received 2 opposition letters. So again, US Highway 64 is along the northern border of the site. That's an arterial road, and Washington Road is a local rural street section to the west. There's over 700 feet of frontage on Washington and a little over 200, I believe, on Highway 64. Just zooming in a little bit to take a look at the zoning situation, everything is zoned conservation agriculture. The north has been left out because that is Arlington, and we don't deal with their zoning districts. Over here is the Kubota, all the way on the right side of the screen, the Kubota tractor sales, which was approved by special use permit. It's tractor sales and other sorts of agricultural machinery sales are allowed by special use permit in the CA district. But zooming out, just taking a look at the land use in the area, there's a good deal of single-family residential uses on large pieces of land, shaded in yellow. In the immediate area, there's quite a bit of wooded land. Again, there's this Kubota to the east. The right side of this map is the Shelby County border, and that's why that ends there. Again, Arlington to the north. We've got the interstate a bit to the west. What's going on in the more immediate vicinity along Washington Road? Again, mostly wooded. There are a couple cemeteries on the other side of Washington Road. There's a couple houses, as well as the Eads Baptist Church down here, a bit further to the south. I will point out that this, although not shaded in red, I guess because it's fairly new, but if you can see where my mouse is on the screen, just to the east of the site, a few parcels down, is a vehicle storage yard that was approved via PD in 2021. And you can see vehicles being stored there with access off Highway 64. I will point out that applicant applied for a PD amendment to allow an expansion of that vehicle storage yard this year. The expansion request was denied by the Shelby County Board of Commissioners, to whom the present request will also be subject to their decision. So that's what's going on in the area. Just some photographs I took of the site. It has been de-wooded to some degree. Here's that Washington Road, and here's a view down Highway 64 looking towards the end of the county. Here's a conceptual site plan submitted by the applicant. Of course, as a PD, it'd be subject to final plan approval and a little more staff review if ultimately approved. But you can see that they've proposed some new tree plantings along Washington Road, no access onto Washington Road, one drive off Highway 64, and a mix of covered parking, which is what's shown in the middle here, and uncovered parking, which would be presumably rented out at different rates. In conclusion, I'm looking at number 2 here. As Mr. Director Zena mentioned earlier, we are working on a comprehensive plan for the unincorporated portions of the county, similar to Memphis 3.0 for the city, that would help us when looking at zoning changes and help you, the county commission and staff, make decisions related to land use change. While that's under development, we don't think it's appropriate to consider zoning changes of this magnitude, again, from open to vehicle storage. We would prefer to let that process run its course and see what the plan has to say. So we have a more official guide for these sorts of questions. We also have concerns anyway about this use's impact on the residential and open character of this portion of the Eads community. So for these reasons, we are recommending rejection. And if approved, we have recommended outline plan conditions on pages 18 through 20 in the staff report, and I'm happy to discuss this as well. That concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Do we have any questions of Mr. Davis at this point? Okay, we're ready, Mr. Bray, for your presentation. I keep getting you.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Why was for this other site, why was the expansion denied? Do we have an answer?
I didn't personally handle that case, but I will point out that there was quite a good bit of neighborhood opposition that I'm sure played a role in the commissioner's deliberations. And
yes, and our former staff member, Seth Thomas, handled that case, and as you know, he has moved on to Chicago, and so it was rejected at a recent county commission meeting. However, and I just informed, the opposition is here for this case as well, and they'll be speaking in just a moment. That case was approved for reconsideration by the county commission, and so it has been denied. However, at Monday's county commission meeting, it will be reconsidered. So, but there was strong opposition. There was a lot of discussion about access off of Washington and buffers off of Washington. So the main concern was Washington.
Thank you.
Thank you. That answer your question? Okay, Mr. Bray.
Okay, so yeah, I was going to address that. So yeah, we're going back to county commission on that other case for the expansion, and that expansion also comes over to Washington Road. And there's been a lot of focus on Washington Road, but neither that application nor this application have any driveways to Washington Road. And on the previous application, we're expanding the landscape buffer, and I'd be happy to discuss expanding the landscape buffer on this case with you guys as well. But let's talk about that a little bit. That case came through here a couple of months ago to this board first with a staff recommendation of approval, and this board voted approval for it. We still feel like it's an appropriate use in that area. We're in the unincorporated portion of the county. We have no access to sewer. And Highway 64 is commercial. We talk about Washington Road all day long. I understand the residential character of that road, but Highway 64 is commercial. And that's all it's ever gonna be if you look at the land development patterns along there. There are some large acreage tracts that may have houses on them at this time, but it is going commercial and will probably continue to go commercial. This is by and large a pretty non-impactful use. We have numbers from the site that's operating immediately to the east of this, and it's less than 15 trips a day in and out for the vehicles coming in there. This is storage. This is storage for your RV, storage for your boat, things like that. It's people park them and they leave them because they have covenants in their subdivision where they can't park them in their neighborhood. But it's not a daily use. If you read the staff report, it sort of looks like it's a parking area and there's going to be daily use with cars in and out every day. That's not the case. Like I said, we'd be happy to discuss more landscaping along Washington Road if you guys feel that is needed. We have never had a proposal to put a driveway out on Washington Road. That has been a point of contention from the start of these applications, that somehow or another we were putting access out to Washington Road. Washington Road is very narrow, would not support this kind of traffic and doesn't need this kind of traffic. Our driveway would be to Highway 64, and that would be the only access. Here with me today is the applicant, and we'll let him speak a little bit, and then we'll reserve the rest of our time for rebuttal.
Okay, thank you. Give us your name and address, please.
Good morning. My name is Todd Bradford. I live at 12780 Seward Road in Eads. I do own the property on 64 at Washington where the proposed storage facility would be. I'm also a resident over there. I live very close to there. I live in the community there. In fact, if you draw a straight line from the property to my place, it's closer than everybody in there except for the Shannons, who are close to the property there. So I've personally reached out to a lot of the people in the community over there, and the ones that oppose, I've spoken to them, and it seems to me like their main concern is the impact on the community over there and how it would affect them and everything. And I don't want anything that would affect anything bad over there. Like I said, I live there too. I live very close to it. I'm part of the community over there. I wouldn't want to do anything that would, bring anything bad to it. So that's really all I've got. I don't really have much more to say.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the applicant?
I have a quick question for the applicant. Do you own the site next door, just to the east, that already has outdoor storage?
Oh, no, sir. And that's something that I've learned here recently when talking to a lot of the people that oppose. They all kind of said the same thing, not all of them, I'm sorry. Some of them said the same thing, that they thought that we were the same company, same business. I don't even know those guys. I met them about 7 months ago. So to answer your question, no.
Are you currently in this business?
No, sir.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions of the applicant before we go to the opposition? Okay, we're ready for the opposition. Please come up and give us your name, your address, and your explanation.
Yes, good morning. My name is Cora Shannon. I live directly across from the RV center that proposed to build. And I've lived there since 1999. I've gone through, this is my second proposal for land use on Washington Road. You're telling us you're not gonna use Washington Road, but you have already tore the road up on Washington Road. It was repaved and redone. I did take pictures and showing you when it was redone and how bad the road has already been tore up. As for usage, just to try to clear the land. I've also have pictures to show you where the land has been tore up. It now looks like a flood zone on Washington Road next to the headed east. It is completely tore up. Then on top of that, you are working 10:30 to 11 to 12 and 1 o'clock at night. I have pictures of also that. Everybody from Washington Arlington Road, we have one service station. It closed at 10 o'clock. AT&T across the road at Arlington closed at 5. Animal Hospital closed at 5. But you want to come to Washington Road and work all night long. This is what we have been going through. That's even before you put a proposal in for us. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. We have 2 more in opposition. Please give us your name and address.
Good morning. Thank you for your time. My name is Patrick Wimmer. I live at 12484 Washington Road, about 700 feet from this project. What you see on the map does not really show you what's going on. If you were to go around the corner for another couple hundred feet from what they're showing you, it becomes a residential property. There is houses, churches, and cemeteries. On July 17th, as they said before, a similar project was denied by the Shelby County Commission from ML Holdings. On Highway 64, the Kubota dealership there exists because of exemption. The RV parking that they have there now exists because of an exemption. And now BS Holdings is asking for another exemption to the to the current zoning. We got exemption after exemption after exemption. When does it stop? At one point, when is a residential community protected? You can see by this that the impact of this project has much more effect on Washington Road than it does on Highway 64. 3 times the impact you're going to have coming down Washington Road. 700, almost 800 feet. Washington Road is a narrow 2-lane country road consisting of 3 cemeteries, a community church, and several residences. It's only 17 feet wide. It can't handle traffic. It can't handle heavy machinery or any type of RVs or whatever they want to park there. Washington Road in the old section of Eads is a special community where everyone knows their neighbors. Homeowners take morning and evening walks and sit on their front porches. A few of the homes date back to the 1800s and are still owned by the same families. Some of the current homeowners have lived in their homes for over 60 years. My neighbor, Mr. Shannon here, has lived in this house since he was 5 years old. This atmosphere is why my wife and I built where we did. In fact, we built our home 10 years ago. We modeled it after an old farmhouse so it would fit in the neighborhood. And we kept all the trees, put a big front porch on it. This house represents a large investment for us, and we have a right to protect that investment. And I think you have an obligation to protect that investment. The encroachment of commercial ventures into our residential neighborhood is wrong. It would spoil the country atmosphere and certainly set a precedent for future rezoning and encroachments. All my neighbors that I've spoken with adamantly oppose this project. If you lived on Washington Road, you'd be standing next to me in opposition to this. The request by BS Holdings for an exemption to the residential zoning should not carry more weight than the property owner's request to keep it as it is. There is absolutely no good reason to make this change, to reduce our property values and to upset our community. We ask that you reject this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wimmer. We have one more in opposition. Mr. Shannon, give us your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Freddie Shannon, 3029 Washington Road. And I was about, he said 5. I was 3 years old when my grandmother took me in. And she told me on her sick bed that she wanted me to take care of her property and her house and don't let anyone have it. And I said, okay, big mama. The property across the road from my house has been like that for 150 years. These people, instead of going over there on the north side, doing what they need to do, they come in on the residential side, tearing up everything, tearing the trees down, tearing the ground up. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, I know my grandmother was probably turning over in her grave with what's going on in Eads. I'm about to turn over in mine. But anyway, we wish that these people would go to the north side of that highway and do whatever they want. Plenty of land over there. They don't want to spend the money. They want to come to the south side where it's cheaper. Doesn't make any sense to me. I wanted to say a lot more, but I don't want to make anyone angry, so I'm going to go sit down.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon. Okay, we're ready for the applicant to, well, are there any questions of the opposition at this time? Okay, we're ready for the applicant to rebuttal.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something about Mrs. Shannon talking about the road being torn up and all that, and construction going on and all that. It's stuff like that that's being said that's just 100% not true. I've had that property for about a year now, and we have not done any construction over there until this last week. Not even construction, I'm talking about just, moving some dirt around and stuff like that. I've had one big trailer over there. I've got cameras on the property too and can prove that. She's talking about the road being torn up and stuff like that. That's being torn up from dump trucks coming from another house, a new construction house that's being built down the road, and some other stuff. There's no way that any stuff that we have done on that property has torn up that road. I mean, like I said, we've had one big trailer over there, and that was just this last week. It had nothing to do with tearing up that road. From the very beginning, a lot of the residents have gotten myself confused with MLM, the other guys that own the property that touches mine on Washington, closer to the residential part of the neighborhood. And like they were saying a while ago, they've come in and torn trees down and stuff like that. Again, that is not the property that we're discussing today. That's not the project we're discussing today. That's just not it. That's not the property. That's a separate deal. So, like I said, it's just a lot of, after talking to, I've done everything I could. I've gone around and talked to everybody I can, and outside the 12 parties that signed the original paper on at the PD meeting there, I can't find anybody else that does oppose it, but they say everybody opposes it. In fact, I talked to a couple of them yesterday that were on that list, and just to talk to them and try to inform them and get some things straightened out about the property that we're talking about and the other project, and they did not know that. And they said, okay, well, now we do understand it, and we don't have a problem with that. And that's I've gotten a whole lot more of that than I've gotten fight back from any of the neighbors over there. And as far as impacting the community over there, there's, in my mind, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I think there's a very distinct line from Highway 64 commercial out there to where the neighborhood community is, and he's right. If you do look at the picture, the neighborhoods and the houses, they do not start right behind this property or even the next property behind mine or the one after that. There's actually 4 large parcels before the houses start. Now the Shannons, they are different. They are right across Washington right there. They are right beside it. I'm not saying they're not, but the other, they paint a picture like this community is right touching this property on 64, and it's just not. If you zoom out and you look at the big picture, these houses are way back there. They don't border any of these properties, and in fact, they don't border 4 properties. There's 4 properties in between it, where that and the houses are. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Bray?
Yes, ma'am. And as you heard from the opposition, there's a lot of concern about Washington Road, and I'll go back to my first statement. We don't intend to use Washington Road. And I'm glad that's the particular picture that's up, because if you look at our site plan, we'll have a landscape buffer along that stretch and fencing that's not out on the edge of the road, but back at the edge of the asphalt for where our paving area is. So we're going to add landscaping. I handed him a staff report. I'm not sure exactly what the requirement in the conditions were, but it's about a Class 3 buffer that would be along that road. It will not look like that picture today. That's not what you'll see. You'll see landscaping. The fence will be farther set back off the road, and you will have a buffer. We're trying to be good neighbors to the residential area on Washington Road. We don't want to use it. But let's keep in mind, there was a couple of the speakers mentioned that this is a residentially zoned area. It's not. It's conservation agriculture. So that area can be under cultivation tomorrow with all the operation, all the heavy machinery that goes with agricultural zoning, because that's what it's zoned. And we're here through the special use permit process because that's our vehicle to bring this application to you. One of the other concerns was they'd be operating all night. The conditions of approval say 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., similar to the convenience store that you mentioned. So we don't intend to operate all night. We're trying to be good neighbors. We're going to put the landscape screen in, and we're not going to use Washington Road at all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any?
Can I say one more thing? As about Washington Road, and as Mr. Wimmer pointed out, it is a very small road, 17-foot wide. And when I came up with this business plan and everything, I did my research, and to answer like you asked me earlier, no, I've not been part of this business before myself, but I've been part of other ones and stuff like that, and trying to help develop them. But I've done the research on it and everything, and would somebody use Washington Road to access it? I mean, maybe, yeah, of course somebody will, but generally speaking, on that road that's 17-foot wide and windy and very curvy, people are not going to pull a trailer through there or an RV going through there. It's just really hard to get down it. And when you have Highway 64 right there coming from 269 and I-40, I mean, why would you even want to be going back there to use Washington? That part I don't understand. So I just wanted to point that out, because it seems like, the use of Washington Road and the impact on Washington Road is a big concern, which I understand why, but I can't wrap my head around it, why it would be such a big impact on Washington Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I let you all go a little longer on your rebuttal because you didn't take your full 10 minutes. I just wanted to explain that. Okay, is there any questions? Do you have any questions for either the applicant or the opposition?
For the applicant, Mr. Bradford, what is, we saw photos of a torn up road. I'm not sure where that was. I mean, is that on the Washington Road?
I didn't see the photo. I didn't see the photo, but I know which spot they're talking about. It is on Washington Road, approximately 400 to 500 feet from 64. Washington Road is not in good shape anyways. And it got torn up. It's been torn up, but it did get torn up by a dump truck going through there. But it's not a dump truck that was going to that property. It was a dump truck doing something else. It has nothing to do with that property, which they keep pointing out. And that's
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, any further questions of the applicant or the opposition?
I just have one quick one. Okay, on this map, it shows Washington Road going south, and then it turns west. Where does Washington Road end? I mean, where does it come out? Am I making sense with that question?
Yes, ma'am. It turns back west, to the right, and then it goes down to Jefferson and Carver, Arlington. That's the main part of, right there.
Yeah, right there. It takes
It's going back west right there.
I can't imagine anybody wanting to.
Nobody.
Okay.
This is Carville, Arlington.
If you see on that map,
You don't have the cool graphics he does. I'm figuring it out right now. Okay.
See, man,
on that circle right there, there's only one or two residential houses in that circle, and all the other ones are well outside.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions before we close the public portion?
Yes.
Okay.
For the applicant, you will not, this will be very quick, you will not use Washington even for your construction, correct?
Correct, and that's something that when I reached out to a lot of the neighbors, that's something that I tried to tell them too. Now the other men that have that other one, they have a construction entrance, if you will, when they started clearing some trees over there that they were using, and they've got confused, I think, with me. But I pointed out that no, absolutely not. We would not use it at all. Right now, there's a little spot where you can turn in onto Washington, and we were out there just moving some dirt, cleaning some stuff up over the last week, and we have pulled in and parked our trucks there while they were working. But to answer your question, no, during anything, we would not be using Washington Road.
Thank you. All right, if there are not any more questions, we're going to close the public portion of this meeting. Dr. Pritchard?
Move approval of agenda item number 2, PD 2023-010.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? We quote all of our cases in the positive, so if you want it, yes. If you don't want it, no. Okay, ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay.
Oh, yeah. We have 2 yeses down here. I think the rest
Pardon?
I'm a yes.
Yes, they're for it.
Okay.
You
want to do it?
roll call?
Yeah, let's do roll call.
Yeah. Mr. Tolles?
No.
Ms. Wilbanks?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming? Mr. Gill?
Yes.
Mr. McKenna?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
No.
Dr. Pritchard?
No.
Chair Sharp?
No.
Motion fails.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Fails.
Fails.
I mean, I explained it and then I said it wrong myself.
Well, the explaining it is the most important part.
Okay. All right.
Madam Chair, our
Yes.
next agenda item is 4S 2023-26. The location is East Brooks Road. The request is a 3-lot major industrial subdivision. Staff recommends approval with one condition.
Okay. Applicant, you're here. Would you give us your name and address, please?
My name is Jack McAdoo. Office is 18155 Highway 64, Somerville, Tennessee. I'm here with the applicant, Barry Wingard.
Okay, thank you. We do have opposition, so we are going to hear this case.
When they open their doors, I mean, if it's a true parking lot.
There's opposition, but we won't hear you right now. We'll wait till we hear the case. Then the applicant will present theirs, and then we'll hear yours.
You ready?
Ready?
Good morning, everyone. Teresa Shelton with the Division of Planning and Development. Have before you case S2326, 513 East Brooks Road. It's a 3-lot major industrial subdivision. Here we have the location map showing where the subject property is located. If you'll look over to your left, you'll see the subject property in yellow. And this is a zoning map showing the zoning, the different zonings around the area. And this is the land use, the red indicating commercial, purple indicating industrial. Here is a picture of the subject property off of Avon Road looking north. This is dated from June 2019. And here's a view of the other property on the back half, located off of, and I got Avon, it's supposed to be Winchester. I do apologize for that error. And here is an enlarged preliminary site plan showing the properties. Here, as you can see, the property is located right here on Tulane Road, and this is Winchester here. So this is what they're trying to do as far as the subdivision. Okay, the description, site description is the subject property is 19.008 acres located at the intersection of East Brooks Road and Tulane Road, zoned heavy industrial and parcel 07700100040 abuts Winchester, looking south, and it's zoned EMP. The site is comprised of lot 2 of the Ratcliffe's industrial subdivision. Preliminary plan reviews, the 2 existing parcels are being modified to accommodate the 3-lot layout. The lots are oriented to front 2-lane road. The lots meet the bulk regulations, both the heavy industrial and EMP district, and the subdivision is in character and compatible with the existing development of the neighborhood. So in conclusion, you have a request to do a 3-lot major industrial subdivision, which is a re-subdivision of lot 2 of the Ratcliffe's industrial subdivision that consists of 2 parcels. The first one ending in 0002 and 00040. The proposed 3-lot major industrial subdivision will bring the current possession and parcels into compliance with the subdivision regulations. The 2 existing parcels are both legal lots of record and buildable.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Shelton.
And so, of course, those are my approval, one condition.
Okay.
And I'm here for any questions.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Shelton right now? Okay, hearing none, we're ready for the applicant to make your presentation.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to point out a key factor that this is a re-subdivision, Ratcliffe subdivision. Ratcliffe was, subdivision was done 50-plus years ago. The only reason we're here today is because when you have a modification to an old subdivision and all the lots are conforming, then you have to replat that subdivision. The property owners, the property use has been the same for 20-plus years. In this particular case, the owner of the property is selling a portion to a tenant. And it's not going no use change whatsoever. The tenants have been there 20-plus years, and it's going to stay just like it has been for 20 years, 20-plus years. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the applicant side? Okay, we're ready for opposition. Give us your name and address.
Morning. My name is Elizabeth English. I live at 3311 Graves Road, 38116. I live less than 1/2 mile from the proposed site development. I'm in opposition to this agenda number 4. I'm trying to be proactive rather than reactive to prevent environmental contamination. We have too many brownfields in our communities now that has affected our air, our water, our soil, and most of all, our health. So I'm asking you not to approve this agenda, this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of her right now? Okay, we have one more person in opposition.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you all remember me from last time? Mrs. Patricia Snell is my name. My husband is pretty famous here in Memphis. He's a musician. You can look him up on allmusic.com. Lester Snell. We have people coming to our home, even though it's very small, very meager home. We love it. From all over the world. We've been all over the world. Just like Elvis Presley's house is less than a mile from our home. When people come to our city, we want them to see it in a good light. Right now, all up and down Brooks Road is nasty, dirty, trash everywhere from 621 Brooks Road, where they have that trash thing that's going up and down. We've been fighting it for years. Some people came to our house a couple years ago from Belgium, a famous singer in Belgium, Excel Red. She went outside my backyard and she said, "Patricia, what is going on down there?" I said, "It's trash. It's trash that Memphis will not get rid of for us." People come. People see what Memphis is like. I'm not from Memphis originally, even though I've been here 50-some years. We bought the small piece of property thinking we would be able to retire there. Those things up and down Brooks Road have caused me to get cancer. I'm barely here. One man here said, "The residents deserve something." City Council, protect your residents. Protect our city. People come to this city. People enjoy Memphis. They enjoy Elvis's house. All up and down Whitehaven is nasty. They will not clean it. They will not cut it. But they're coming to Elvis Presley by the droves, by the hundreds. They come to see my husband, Lester Snell, allmusic.com. See what he's done for Memphis. Memphis is famous. Protect our citizens. Protect me. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Snell, give us your address. You failed to give us your address.
3315 Brevard Drive. And by the way, when you drive up to, we used to have Graves School around the corner from us, but they wouldn't do anything. A nice senior citizens place would be nice, you know, on that property. But right behind my house, they have, it's owned by somebody who's been owning it for 50, 100 years. If they've owned it since we've been there. They used to cut a pathway so that we wouldn't be worried with things coming up to our home. I have a swimming pool now out there. I'm scared to go outside in my backyard. Something was growing in my yard and I had to send it to, you tell me when my 10 minutes up, 5 minutes, whatever. Was growing in my backyard and I called, took a picture of it and sent it to the library. And they sent it back and said, it's a beautiful plant, but it's invasive. It will take over your whole yard if you don't cut it down. It's growing all in the back of our house. We have no breezeway. It's growing up on the lines. The lines, we can't get light, gas, and water to come down. Memphis, you need to do better. City Council, think about our people that live here. It's special. This is a special place. We're known all over the world. Isaac Hayes, my husband used to work for Isaac Hayes. We traveled all over the world. People come here from all over the world to see Memphians. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Snell. We're ready for the rebuttal from the applicant.
Chair, would you please tell me how much time I have?
Okay. Go ahead.
How much time do I have?
You have about 6 minutes.
Oh, great. First of all, Ms. Snell is correct. There's several areas in Memphis, South Memphis, and in this area that is trashy. There's no doubt about it. All you gotta do is drive up and down Brooks Road. But that has nothing, no, that's not right. That's the way to say it. That has, what would happen if this is approved will not change one use whatsoever. The tenant that is there now is gonna stay there. All this allows, this subdivision allows to let it become a legal subdivision based on its current use, and the new owner would continue to occupy. The only thing this would stop would be the sale of the property. Let's talk about zoning for just a second. The city of Memphis came up with zoning. Let me back up. I've been in the business 43 years. I remember when the planning document was 36 pages. The comprehensive plans that we have had in place in Memphis for years purposefully put industrial property in areas where was best suited. You know, 50 years ago, this was nowhere land. And they allowed industrial to go in here. The mistake that Ms. Snell is talking about is when it was rezoned to industrial. But this is industrial, and with industrial comes uses that create circumstances that you may not like as a residence. Track traffic. You know, UPS, take back UPS, FedEx. I'm sure there were people that didn't like those companies coming to town, but this company these individuals want to own their own property and buy it from Mr. Wingard. There's not going to be any more trucks, any more deliveries, any more trash. Nothing is going to change. I ask you respectfully to go ahead with staff recommendation and approve this based on the one condition.
Yeah, can I say something, Jack? I think you may have us confused with the trash company.
No, you're included in the trash company.
We don't handle trash.
I know.
Sir, excuse me.
That's not the way.
Yes, you can speak to the board or to us, and then if there is any questions. So.
Okay.
We're not in the waste business. None of the businesses. Yes.
Name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Barry Wingard, and my family owns the acreage that we're looking at right here.
Say your name and address.
Barry Wingard, Highway 7, 8180 Highway 7, Bismarck, Arkansas.
Thank you.
Okay. I worked at this location for 15 years, from 1978 to 1994. And it's a former Superfund site. My family cleaned this site up over the years, and my dad passed away in 2008. And before he died, we got a full conditional release stating that this property was now clean. It's no longer Superfund. That's hard to do. And if you look at the picture, if you want to come visit our plant, that we operated for all those years. That's the final plant before you can get to Winchester Road. We have an open door policy. We invite you to come see us. We don't have anything to hide. Our trucks don't handle trash. Now, we have a lot of it dumped on our property. People from all over will dump mattresses, truck tires, car tires, and stuff like that on our road. And we don't like that either. But as far as our trucks, the rest of the properties there are operated by mainly people in the truck repair business, truck and trailer repair business. That's what we do. Now, across the field there is a waste company there that may have issues with their trucks, littering the highways and the neighborhoods and that stuff, but it's not coming from here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, do we have any questions of either the opposition or the applicant? Okay. You can't speak anymore.
No, ma'am.
Unless somebody has a question, you can't speak again.
Okay, well, I have a question for him.
No, ma'am.
He was within his presentation time. Now,
What's he gonna put on the property? That's what I'm asking.
And Madam Chair, if I may, just to clear up, I think everybody understands, but the uses are allowed by right. These uses will not change. This is a subdivision request just to subdivide the property that is already there. I just wanted to make that clear if it was not. So.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions of Ms. Snell? If not, we can't. Okay, we can't. We're going to have to close the public portion of the meeting. Okay. Can I get a?
Yes. Move approval of agenda item number 4, S2023-026.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. It has a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Now, Madam Chair, do you want to go?
We're going to 8 first.
That's right. That's what I thought. Agenda item number 8, Z2023-009, 1106 Colonial Road. The request is to rezone 11,604 acres from residential 10, R10, to residential 8, R8 zoning district. The staff recommendation is approval.
Okay, thank you. We will have the applicant come up and introduce yourself one more time for this one, and then we'll hear it because we have opposition.
David Bray with the Bray Firm, 2950 Stage Plaza North.
Thank you. Ready for the presentation.
Okay, good morning once again, everyone. I do want to point out, I'm speaking with Mr. Ragsdale, we're going to add an amended condition to the sister case, which will come after this one, which is S2327, and it's just going to be, the subdivision will be subject to the zoning approval through city council. So that will be added as an amended condition on the one coming up after this case. So I just wanted to kind of point that out ahead of time with this case. So we have before you Z23009. Applicant is Church of Christ at White Station, and the representative is, of course, Mr. Bray, the Bray Firm. The location is 1106 Colonial Road. The request is to rezone 11.604 acres from residential 10 to residential 8. Okay. Here we have the location map showing the location of the subject property. If you look at the vicinity map, it shows you in this yellow square where the property is located, and it is surrounded by residential. This is the zoning map, shows you that you have the residential R10 here, R6, and RU2. And as you can see, the land use maps indicate everything is residential. And this is just a few pictures of the subject property looking to the north and looking to the northwest on Colonial Road. Here's a plot plan showing the subject property where initially I think we talked about rezoning just this area here. But I think we're doing, Mr. Bray, if I'm correct, the whole property as a whole?
Yes, yes, that was y'all's request, so yeah, we're good with that.
All right, just want to make sure I'm clear on that. Site description, subject property is 11.604 acres and located at the southeast corner of the subject property, zone residential 10. The site is comprised of one lot and is part of a sister subdivision case, which will be coming up after this, for a 10-lot major subdivision. The request, again, is to rezone 11.604 acres from residential 10 to residential 8. The underlying purpose of this request is a reclassification of 1.93 acres at the southeast corner of the subject property from R10 to R8 zoning district. The proposed development will not unduly injure or damage the use, value, enjoyment surrounding of the properties, nor unduly hinder or prevent the development from surrounding properties in accordance to our development code and the city and county plans. So staff recommendation is approval. I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Shelton. Do we have any questions of Ms. Shelton at this time? Okay, we are ready for the applicant.
Thank you. And I'm not sure this is where the opposition lies, so I'm not going to speak a whole lot on this. I think that's more on the companion case for the subdivision. Just to clear up what she showed, the companion case, you'll see there's lots in two different areas on that, and it was in the southeast corner that we were looking to do some lots that complied with the R8 zoning, and so that was our original request. Staff came to us and asked if we could just rezone the entire property because it was cleaner. We don't have an objection to that. So I would reserve the rest of my time after any opposition speaks. And like I said, I think most of that's going to be on the subdivision, not on this portion.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're ready for the opposition. Give us your name and address.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Orr. I live at 4823 Wellshire. I back up to the property. Just to be clear, because there's two proposals, am I to speak to both of them now or just to the rezoning of the larger piece?
Just to number 8 at this time.
I'm sorry, what?
Just to number 8 only.
On the agenda?
The one that we're on now, which is 2023-009. We're taking number 8 before we take number 5, but we're going to hear you on both of them.
All right.
Separately.
So I will be able to come back to the podium, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. I want to give you a little bit of a history of Colonial Acres. First of all, I'm here on behalf of over 200 residents that oppose both of these petitions before the board today. And I have petitions that these people have signed. We've had volunteers that have gone door to door, and over 200 people have spoken, and they are opposed to this. I want to explain something. Our neighborhood association, Cana, held one meeting to inform the neighbors about the project and to take a vote on this matter. Approximately 95 to 100 people were present. There are several thousand homes in Colonial Acres, and there was no effective way other than social media to communicate this to the neighborhood. Some are elderly, and many have sworn off Facebook and Nextdoor, so they were unaware of the meeting. Thus, we organized an effort to get a petition signed to oppose this rezoning. As I said, we've collected over 200 signatures from people in the area, and the people within this map represents the people within the official notification zone, and the orange represent all of those that signed the petition that they are opposed to these proposals by the property owner. Give or take a dozen people, none of the people signing the petition were in attendance at the meeting. I would like to address why we oppose this rezoning of this almost 2 acres. The property owner has stated that this will be Lot 2 and that it will be sold to an organization called Isaiah 117 for a house for children taken by DCS as they await placement into foster care. Isaiah 117 is a wonderful project, and we 100% support their mission. We agree that these children need help, and they need some type of home or place to live as a need for a place for these children. We are not opposed to the church or to Isaiah 117. We are opposed to the placement of this house within our community at this particular location. We believe that there are other areas that would be more suitable. Examples, existing homes turned into businesses. There are houses across from Eastgate Shopping Center that have businesses in them, but they look like homes. We believe that such a situation would be more favorable to this so that you would not have this, could be considered a halfway house with the problems that it could bring in the middle of a 100% residential area. Similar projects across the state have failed because the volunteers were not trained and some children had severe health needs. Any child pulled out of a troubled situation will have emotional or mental trauma, and no one can predict the behavior of such children. These other organizations have been forced to pull back on such houses. I have an article here that ran in the Memphis Flyer last month stating these things about the problems that all these other organizations have had. Isaiah 117 has addressed these concerns, and hopefully they're telling us that they're going to do different. But Isaiah 117 does not have a track record in Shelby County, and we do not know what will actually happen. We hope that we will not have these problems of increased crime, of children jumping the fence and coming out into the neighborhood, because there will be teenagers up to age 18 that can stay in this house, but we feel that this is an extremely risky proposition for our neighborhood. Also, Harding Preschool is located on this property. Many of the parents do not want a house housing DHS children on the same property that their children are going to kindergarten and pre-K. They feel that this is a risk and they are very opposed to it. Throughout this process, we've learned that not all church members are on board with this project. Just because they go to church there, there's differences of opinions even as you get out into the community. A general contractor that lives in our neighborhood has stated that this is not a good project. A pastor that lives in the neighborhood signed the petition opposing these projects. A teacher of elementary school children said that this is not a good idea for our neighborhood and signed the petition. I mention these people because that shows that people with knowledge, people that deal with children, people that are Christians, people that support this type of effort feel that this is not the right fit at the right place within our neighborhood. Last but not least, we believe that such a house would drive down the property values of those homes immediately nearest it. If you were looking up to buy a house and you were checking out the neighborhood and were told that the house behind you or across the street from you housed children in DHS custody, you most likely would walk away from that purchase and say thanks, but no thanks. In closing, I would implore you, each one of you on this land use board, to vote no for this proposal. We applaud the mission of the Isaiah House people, but we believe that it is a great idea, but the wrong location. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 3 more speakers, and you only have 3 minutes, so about a minute apiece on your opposition. There's some more speakers for opposition.
Can I ask a favor? Mr. Ragsdale, would it be appropriate to go ahead and get the staff report for the subdivision in play? So that, because this is about the zoning, which is not really what we're talking about here. I realize it has to be two separate votes for the last two agenda items. I think it would give everybody a whole lot more clarity if we had all of the information up there, if we went ahead and let Ms. Shelton give that staff report.
Yeah, Madam Chair, we don't have any issue with that. That could help just in the overall discussions, if that's okay with you and the board.
So,
if I could clarify one thing, the reason I spoke regarding the Isaiah project is because the property owner has made it clear that when this rezoning, if it were to be approved, that this is their intent. So this is why we are opposed to the rezoning of that, and why I just wanted to make that perfectly clear.
okay, thank you. All right, we have two more in opposition to number 8, but you only have 3 minutes. Okay.
Madam Chair, I think what Mr. Bray had requested, which is could be helpful, because I think there is a lot of continuity between these two and a lot of discussion about, you know, whether it's rezoning or subdivision, they're really tied together. If we give the staff presentation on the subdivision, it could help with just kind of some clarity.
Okay.
And then we can come back to the opposition and, you know.
Okay, how are we going to do the minutes? We're going to add them up?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Shelton.
Okay, so this is the sister case to the zoning case you just heard, S23-027. I'm not gonna go through all of the logistics. We know this is the same location, same applicant, same rep. Basically, the vicinity map and location map is the same. Zoning and land use, the same. Just pictures of the site. So the only thing different is the preliminary plan that actually shows what they're planning to do here in these lots, with the lots here. And I'll let Mr. Bray explain it in more detail. So basically what they're doing is they're going to put in some single family homes here on this lot. If approved, I guess, through the rezoning. The request is for 10-lot major subdivision. It does meet the bulk regulations. The proposed phase 1 will consist of lot 1, which will house the existing church and accessory buildings and parking, and a newly created lot 2 on the southwest corner of the property with frontage on Colonial Road. The area of the rezoning application will be phase 2 of the proposed planned subdivision to create 8 new single-family lots in the R8 zoning district that will access through an extension of Essexshire west into the parent property. The parsonage located on the part of phase 2 will remain until such time that phase 2 is developed. The subdivision is compatible with and in keeping with the character of the neighborhood, and it conforms with the UDC. Staff recommendation was approval with one condition. I'm here for any questions on this case.
Any questions on number 5 to Ms. Shelton? Okay.
Oh, and one more thing, Madam Chair, and I apologize. Just going back to what we said about the amended, so just remember that amended condition is going to be based on the zoning case being approved through City Council.
Okay, thank you. All right, now are we going to hear the rest of the opposition on number 8, or are we going to hear a presentation from Mr. Bray on number 5?
I think we could go ahead and continue the opposition, and if you wanted to go ahead.
Okay.
Let's hear from them first, and we'll see how that.
Okay, well, we have 3 more minutes left for 3 people to speak. Ms. Orr, you've already spoken, and we have Kendall, Simpson, Larry,
I have a question. Since there's 2 separate proposals, we feel like we should be allowed 10 minutes per proposal.
You are, but this is on number 8, where you only have 3 minutes left. You're gonna get a chance to present on number 5, your full 10 minutes again.
Okay. So we're still talking about the rezoning of the 1.9 acres?
Yes.
Okay, I've said everything I need to say on that.
Okay. Now we have 2 more in opposition to number 8, and you have 3 minutes.
I think that either, is
Roberts, Simpson, and DeRossi. They're not here?
I guess they're not here, so.
Oh, okay. So,
I'm Simpson, but not in opposition.
She's in support.
okay, she's in support. Okay, well, let's have the rebuttal from Mr. Bray, and you have about 12 minutes because you only took 1 minute to present.
Okay, and I appreciate you guys doing it with the staff report so that we can be clear. Teresa, can you go back to the site plan?
Okay, on the zoning or?
No, for the subdivision.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, now what are you talking on now?
Finish up the.
I'm on the zoning, but the site plan
Okay.
on the subdivision, it shows everything and might make it a little bit clearer.
Okay. He has 12 minutes.
Okay, there we go.
He has 10
So the subject property is, what we've got drawn is 10 lots. Lot 1 would be the existing church and the accessory buildings. That would remain. There's no change there. Lot 2, which is in the southwest corner of this, actually complies with the R10. It would not need the rezoning. So that lot meets the 10,000 square foot requirement, would front out on Colonial. It's lots 3 through 10 is the whole reason for the rezoning application. And I'm going to let representatives of the church speak to, this is beneficial to them. It's some area that's not really being used. They have a parsonage back there, but it's an underutilized portion of their property. Developing these lots gives them an opportunity to be in a little better financial condition to do some of the things they want to do in the neighborhood and with their church. And that's what precipitated us getting here today. The one change off of that site plan has more to do with the subdivision and the rezoning is we were talking about possibly a drive connection off of Exeter into the church, but we don't want to create something where there's a cut-through situation, so we're not going to do that. There'll be pedestrian and bike access, but not drive access. So we would be extending Exeter to the west, 5 lots on the south side, 3 lots on the north, and a cul-de-sac. So that's sort of the nuts and bolts of the subdivision. And that's the area specifically that we need the rezoning on. It's not the entire area because lot 1 is the majority of this area. Nothing's changing on that, and lot 2 meets the R10 requirements. So let me introduce some other people. Let me have them come up and speak. So first we've got the pastor of the church. He's going to speak, and then we've got 2 others that will speak.
Okay, name and address, please.
Hi, friends. I'm Bob Turner. My address is 1564 Hayne Road, and I'm the senior minister. I appreciate you giving me a chance to talk to you here. White Station Church of Christ this May will celebrate our 70th year. We were planted in 1954 with a dream of how we could bless the community. We believe we've been doing that ever since. In the 1990s, our leaders had a decision to make as other churches were moving east and leaving their original locations. Our leaders said, we want to stay right here in Colonial Acres and be a blessing to the community. In 2008, we made that real through the erection of a 2-story community life center. And if you were to go to our campus right now on a Thursday like today, you would see 50 to 100 cars for people who are there exercising, playing pickleball, having community groups, Bible studies, or everything else. Our church campus is active 7 days a week. The reason is because our church mission is to seek the good of the city. We are not interested in going to the community and saying, what can you do for our church? Instead, we go to the church and we say, what can you do for the community? However, we do not only define community as those who are immediately in our church's neighborhood, we also seek the entire city of Memphis. And so we seek the most vulnerable in the community, children who are at risk. We believe that this particular participation with Isaiah 117, the lot we're considering there, gives us an opportunity to enhance what we've been doing with the Department of Children's Services for years, where we've been partnering with them on how to reach the least, the last, and the lost. And we think that's the call that God has given us. We believe that we've done research and heard from community partners regarding Isaiah 117, and we feel really good about this partnership. Furthermore, we believe that a lot of what's been said about Isaiah 117, which you'll hear more about, is either exaggerated or just untruth. And so we really think this is a beneficial partnership to expand our mission. We have hosted gatherings in our church building. We've had a meeting with people who share a fence line with us. Speaking of Harding Academy, we have walked their head of school to show the entire project, and he has not expressed any lack of support for this. We've tried to engage through email and private conversation the Colonial Acres Neighborhood Association, which they voted in approval of this project. And so we feel very good about it as a church. We try to be a good neighbor, but we also try to love our neighbor. And for the past 70 years, we've tried to make Memphis a better place to live, work, and flourish. And we believe that this development is consistent with that commitment. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address, please.
Virginia Roberts, 1045 Billy Bryant Road, Collierville, Tennessee. Good morning. I am Virginia Roberts. I am the expansion coordinator for the Isaiah 117 house that is coming to Shelby County. I am also a mom of 7, and 3 of my children we adopted through foster care. After being a foster parent for 7 years, I have seen firsthand the need to change the way that foster care begins. And as you probably are aware, Shelby County is desperately seeking a solution to get children out of the DCS office while they await a foster placement. The mission of the Isaiah 117 house is to reduce trauma for children who are entering foster care by providing a safe and loving home where they can come on removal day. So when a child walks through our red door, they're greeted by a trained volunteer. They're offered a warm bath, a home-cooked meal, clean clothes, and a comfortable bed to sleep in that night if it's needed. The DCS caseworker provides direct supervision for this child the entire time they are in our house until they have a placement. Our nonprofit now has 19 open homes across 10 different states. These cities also include Indianapolis, Dallas, and soon to be Nashville. There are also 47 other counties all over the country who are in process of opening a home just like us. Regrettably, a small percentage of the over 3,000 residents in the Colonial Acres neighborhood, they've misunderstood our purpose. They've been given misinformation about who we are. And so I want to be clear this morning on who we are not. We are not a halfway house. We are not a group home. We are not a long-term placement for these children. We are a place for removal day so that we can look at them in the eye and let them know they are loved and they are not alone. Our calling is urgent, as we have 1,200 children in foster care in Shelby County alone. That's more than Nashville and Knoxville combined. So the Isaiah 117 house is prepared to move forward with the construction of a beautiful new home on this property if given approval today. And we are thrilled to have the approval official vote of the Colonial Acres Neighborhood Association. And we ask today that you agree with them by allowing us to serve the most vulnerable children in our city, thus changing the way that foster care begins. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, so for those who are not familiar with removal day, it's when someone from Children Protective Services comes in and says, you need to come with me, and they take a child out of everything they've ever known. And right now, the plan is that the child goes to the DCS office and sits and awaits a foster placement. There's no shower, there's no clean clothes. Sometimes they're having to sleep on the office floors, as you've probably seen in the media. And so this is an answer. Governor Lee is in support of the Isaiah 117 house. He seeks to have one in every county across our state to help solve this very big problem. And Shelby County has the largest problem of any county in our state. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
We have one more. How are we doing on time?
You got about 2 minutes.
I'll be quick. Hello, good morning. My name is Kendrick Simpson, and I am the president of Colonial Acres Neighborhood Association. As president, we did hold a meeting on July 27th, our quarterly meeting. During this meeting, we addressed the 2 related issues, the proposed Isaiah 117 house and the proposal of the residential development. After informational and Q&A sessions, the vote was taken on Isaiah House. The vote was in support, 48, 41 opposite. On the residential lot, the vote was 55 in support, 40 opposed. Personally, I'd like to say, speaking to the residential homes, I've lived in my neighborhood for 30 years. I know every single street of our neighborhood like the back of my hand. It's one of the most centrally located neighborhoods in our city. It's located in the East Memphis area, south of the train tracks. Our neighborhood has remained stagnant for the 30 years that I've lived there. I have seen virtually zero growth, zero revitalization of the neighborhood. About a mile down the street, we've got a beautiful shopping center being built up with wonderful shopping locations and restaurants coming into our side. That's really elevated our area. I do believe that the lot with the single-family homes will also elevate our area and give us a chance to become a more desirable place to live and increasing our property values. We've had a huge influx of rental homes bringing down our property value, and I do believe that this new residential area will bring us up to the level of the other East Memphis neighborhood that we deserve to be in. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of the applicant or support?
Can I make
Yes, go ahead.
a couple of real quick points, and then I'll happy to answer any of your questions or direct them to wherever they need to go. So we're here in front of you today on a rezoning application and a subdivision application. We've heard a lot about the Isaiah 117 project, but that's not up for approval with this board. It's a use by right. So that lot 2 is going to be a single-family residential house. It'll be owned by Isaiah 117. There will be occupants to that house, and the foster children will come in there for periods of 24 to 48 or 72 hours. But it's a single-family house. It's a use by right in the existing zoning district that it is, and that's what we're here to vote on today. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, we're still on number 8. Are there any questions of the applicant?
Well, I have a comment. I want to thank you all for providing and caring and providing a service like this. This is very much needed, but most people don't want it near their homes. But I have no issue with it, and thank you. We're all human beings, and I think this is very important and needed. So bless you. All right.
Okay. Yes.
I happen to have a grandson who's adopted, and I too want to thank you for your ministry. Just that aside, Mr. Bray brings up a good point. At the end of the day, these are going to be 10 or however many lots, single families. Families are going to be living in these homes, raising their families, their children, just like everybody else in the neighborhood. And there happen to be foster caring for these children. Is that basically how this works?
Yes, in one house. And that's just on the lot 2.
It's just one house.
So yeah, 3 through 10, you might purchase or I might purchase and live there. Isaiah 117 would own the house on lot 2.
At the end of the day, you drive by the street, it's going to look like every other house. One just happens to be a foster care.
Exactly.
I'm just going to speak to that. So every Isaiah 117 house that is currently open is in a residential neighborhood. It's zoned residentially. There's no sign in front that says Isaiah 117 house. It looks like any other house in the neighborhood. It is new construction, but it's a white house with black shutters and a red door.
Yeah, thank you for that. And you got the ministry side and you got the zoning, and we're here to deal with the land use and zoning.
Yes.
And I'm fully in support of this case. I just wanted to understand that in my mind. So I'm just want to make that comment.
Any further questions before I close the public portion?
Just one final question on the church is going to stay in operation. Harding's staying in operation. Y'all are committed to the site long term. This is just adding an additional use to that.
Yeah, we've been here 70 years. Our membership is healthy. Our budget is strong. Harding Academy is a wonderful tenant of the back of our property. We believe we're in a great position.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, as a former foster child myself up north in Ohio, I applaud you as well. So we're ready to close the public portion of this meeting. Can I get a motion?
Move approval of agenda item number 8, Z2023-009.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Then I assume we're all ready to vote. All in favor, say aye as amended, right?
Yes.
Number 8 as
actually, number 5 will be as amended.
Okay, number 8 as is. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Dr. Pritchard, number 5.
Agenda item number 5, S2023-027, 1106 Colonial Road, Church of Christ at White Station, Inc. The request is a 10-lot major subdivision, and staff recommends approval with one condition.
Okay.
We're gonna go back through the staff report?
Do we think, do you need for her to go back through the staff report? No? Okay, all right, we have, is the applicant going to make another presentation?
No, ma'am. David Bray with the Bray Firm, 2950 Stage Plaza North. We'll reserve our time and we'll let the opposition speak.
Okay, we're ready for the opposition again. You have 10 minutes. Number 5.
Good morning again. My name is Barbara Orr, and I live at 4823 Wellshire, backing up to the church property. Let me tell you a little bit about Colonial Acres. It's a multi-generational neighborhood established in the 1950s, and going door to door to collect these over 200 signatures opposing both of these proposals today. I met people who grew up there, got married, bought their own home there, and are still living there 60 years. Even Kendrick alluded to this. The majority of the houses are one-story brick. We have lots of sidewalks everywhere, lots of walkers, lots of joggers. We have a really special neighborhood, and we want to preserve that. The website of the Land Use Board states that it is your purpose to promote the orderly growth and development of Shelby County. We do not feel that this rezoning request meets that standard. There's a lot of emotion regarding this proposal, and I come before you today with facts. Number 1, this is not a cohesive development, but a disjointed, fragmented development that could constrict future development. You're going to have a church on part of the property. You just approved to have a home for DHS children on another piece, and now the final piece of the puzzle is a proposed subdivision at the back end of the property, opening up a dead-end street into a cove. If this proposal were to be approved, there is grave concern about who a developer and builder would be, and would they listen to the neighbors. Many unanswered questions because there is no developer or builder on board at this point. Once the land is rezoned and sold, we lose most control over the project. And there are many issues important to preserving the character of the neighborhood. We do not feel that property values in the area would rise, as any new homes should be comparably priced to suit the land value. If smaller, lower-priced homes were to be built on the area, property values could decrease. There is concern, as this has happened in other areas, with the house for DHS children on one lot on an adjacent property, that as they needed to expand, then an LLC could buy these lots in the beginning, rent them to single families, and then Isaiah or similar organizations could expand out into these homes. Folks, these children need help. We understand that. We are not opposing that. We just feel like residential neighborhoods that are 100% residential in that area should be preserved. There are other areas within Colonial Acres that would have been more suitable for that. But that's a dead issue at this point. Another issue regarding this rezoning for this major subdivision is the existing drainage issue. This area sits downhill from the church buildings and the parking lot. I have lived in my home for over 40 years, and for that period of time, I have seen my neighbors experience damaging floods from the runoff from the property. Cars have been flooded and ruined. carport storage rooms flooded, lawn equipment, and other items ruined. Building a subdivision on this property could increase flooding if green space is reduced or at best kept the same. Also keep in mind that homes in this area would have the potential to flood because the water's going to be going towards them. Our storm drains in the area are already maxed out. They are all in a row, street by street, from south to north, eventually connecting to one pipe. We had an engineer from the city come out a number of years ago regarding this flooding, and he advised us that there was nothing that could be done to alleviate this problem. He said the pipes are as big as they can be. We are also concerned that new storm drains added to a new subdivision will be directed into the same pipe and will not redirect floodwaters. Also, we're concerned about the number of old trees that would have to be cut. Depending on how a developer would lay out the area, it is estimated that anywhere between 15 and 25 mature trees would have to be removed. This is an atrocity to our community and to the environment. We believe that this proposal does not improve the property. It does not get rid of a blighted property. It does zero for Colonial Acres. Even though the property owner states that they are solvent in meeting budget, we have direct knowledge that more money is needed to maintain the existing buildings and property. While we appreciate the owner's need for money, it should not be at the expense of our neighborhood. In summary, who benefits if this rezoning is approved? The property owner receives money from the sale of the land and gets a tax break. The developer makes money. The builder makes money. The city and county receive increased revenue from property taxes. What does the neighborhood get? What does Colonial Acres get? We get nothing, absolutely nothing of benefit from this. I urge each of you on this board to vote no for this proposal for the following reasons. We believe that it would potentially hamper future development of the adjacent property. Yes, we believe the church will be there for years to come, but no one knows how many that might be. It could be 5, it could be 10. We could have another pandemic next year, and they might not be as solvent as they are. Everything is an if. And if they were to leave and that land, all of a sudden you need to develop it, then you've got all this hodgepodge stuff sitting around that we believe could hamper future development. It does not increase existing property values. There isn't existing drainage problems. There is no benefit to the neighborhood whatsoever. I implore you to listen to the voice of 200 people and the Harding parents and vote no for this major subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Ms. Roberts in opposition as well. You have 3 minutes.
Ms. Roberts spoke in support. That's the young lady from Isaiah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the bottom. Okay. Support, opposition. Okay. We're ready for your rebuttal.
I'm not going to go through a long presentation. I think we got everything on the board last time. There's a lot of talking about, the neighborhood, and it has sidewalks and dogs and families, and when we develop this, it's going to have sidewalks and dogs and families, traditional and non-traditional. No, we do not have a builder developer in place for this yet. There have been some informal discussions, as most of you can imagine. This particular location in East Memphis will probably have a line of them, and I can assure you the homes will be compatible or higher value than the existing homes in the neighborhood, because this is a sought-after area. And as to the drainage, obviously, this is a preliminary plan. We do not have construction plans at this point. We'll have to go through city engineering. There'll have to be detention because of the drainage basin that it's in, and we will address all of that at that time. I think Pastor Turner wanted to speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I said it originally that we're really interested in the best interest of the community. Right now, this is a giant gray parking lot, and it's going to be filled with additional neighbors to allow us to be neighborly, but we would even want to further that. Like, you can see at the corner that the houses don't fully come around, and there's kind of the circular drive there. And we have a plan for that to be, imagine like a path that would allow for bikes to come through, sidewalk for people to push their strollers. We would love for it to connect in some meaningful way. You can imagine like paint on our pavement to get to Colonial, which is a bike path. And so we want to increase connectivity between the church and the neighborhood, between the neighborhood and the church. So we believe this is a great plan to increase the neighborhood, and we hope it's a benefit to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
We're happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Any questions for the applicant? Any questions for the opposition? Okay, hearing none, I'm ready to close the public portion of this case.
Move approval of agenda item number 5, S2023-27.
Second. Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Any discussion?
I just say I couldn't disagree with the opposition more.
All right. I assume we're ready to vote if we have no more discussion. Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Good meeting.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to close the meeting, adjourn the meeting rather.
And Madam Chair, I do want to make one announcement, and I apologize I didn't do that at the beginning, but the director's remarks, and I was trying to get some things together, but I did want to recognize Ms. Teresa Shelton. I hope she's, yes, she's right there at the podium. It was kind of Teresa's day-to-day, and she is unfortunately going to be leaving us for a job in Biloxi, and so this will be her last Land Use Control Board hearing, and I think it was a doozy for her. So we appreciate the presentations and all the hard work over the past 3 to 3.5 years, and we'll miss her. So wanted to make sure I announced that. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I'm gonna miss you guys too, especially Miss Libby.
Okay. And we want to announce that we have a birthday lady in the building, Miss Lisa Wilbanks. Birthday coming up on the 16th of